Somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it.
There's this myth out there that black men can't handle being spoken to, you know, and told what to do by black women. Black men come from our bodies. Yeah. So they're used to having these conversations with women.
The matriarchy is strong with the black
community. It is very strong.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people in this country who do not like black women. But black women are the base of the Democratic Party.
But black power starts with black women. It just does.
These angry, mad, opportunistic, lying black women.
But if man had to find out that his God was a woman,
I say the black woman is God, and
black woman is God.
I say the black woman is God.
The black woman is God because, you know, she was the first organism on this planet.
I'm done with life, and it's all Jermaine's fault. It's always Jermaine's fault.
A motherfucker just supposed to take and accept whatever the fuck you say, because I'm a black woman. Bitch, shut up. The fuck out of here.
But I want to address this simping allegation. Do I simp for black women? Yes. I love black women. I don't like y'all niggas. This is an easy decision to make. Sorry.
But does anyone see that? No. Does anyone care about that? No. All they see is an aggressive black girl talking.
I want what you white hoes get, and I want it today, ASAP, not tomorrow.
I have black mother privilege. And I'm gonna start breaking that down for y'all. Because there is a privilege for me as a black mother. I'm not going to have the same relationship. My sons adore me. My sons will put their life on the line in a New York minute over me. My sons will lose everything they have over me. Over me? It ain't happening. My sons will turn on their father over me. Over me? So when you ask me about my black sons, the relationship does not correlate the same to what I'm saying about black men.
women in it.
How dare you say that we are not interested in families in the Black community?
Woo! Yeah, we got a live one for you today. Let's go. Hit that like button, y'all. Let's go. Like, share, subscribe, all the things. You know, we got to do all the customary things. And we're going to get into this Stephen A. Smith business. This is a lot of work right here. This is a lot of work. If you haven't heard, there is an organization called the National Association of Black Journalists, right? The NABJ. Trying to think of a pun for that, but I'm still coming up dry. But there is the NABJ, and they do kind of suck, though, honestly. That's why we're here, because they suck. But the NABJ, they have an award ceremony, and I think they hold it maybe every year. And actually, I got the footage from that. Stephen A. Smith was actually the host of their award ceremony 2 years ago. 2 years ago, they loved this man.
Did you miss me? Oh yeah, I'm here. You know something? As you sit around and watch what's transpiring, you see the people in here. You see everybody up in here. We in Chicago, Illinois, everybody. Home, the spot for the National Association of Black Journalists. My man Damian Woody and Kimberly Martin is in the house. I got Monica McNutt and Janelle Gumake in the house. Y'all know what I'm about to say, right? Holla at your boy! Woo! Did you miss me?
So look how he represented for the NABJ a couple of years ago, right? And now, after a few public spats, feuds, run-ins, arguments, whatever you want to call it, whatever colorful euphemism you want to put on it, Stephen A. Smith has had some negative interactions or negative criticism, I should say. He's had some criticism of Black women, a lot of public figures, Kamala Harris, Jasmine Crockett, Joy Reid, Jamel Hill. Matter of fact, we're going to jump and watch some of this too later. Jamel Hill and Don Lemon got together, and the title of their podcast is "Has Stephen A. Smith Failed the Black Community?" Like, they really piling in on the man, and it's crazy work. It's real crazy work, but the real reason for being today is the NABJ. They got on stage at their award ceremony, and they called him out publicly, directly, by name. They chastised this man live on stage, basically in front of the whole world, right? And for the world to see, they dragged this man on stage and chopped his foot off like a runaway slave. They chopped his foot off in front of everybody, y'all.
Stephen A. Smith, sports analyst and political commentator. Smith has established a recurring public pattern of disparaging commentary directed at prominent Black women across politics, sports, and media. Such commentary reinforces harmful narratives, undermines the fair and respectful representation of Black women in public discourse, and stands in direct conflict with NABJ's long-standing commitment to accurate, responsible, and inclusive portrayals of Black communities. Stephen A. Smith.
Think about this for a minute. Think about this. They gave him a thumbs down vote publicly in front of everybody, like shaming him, not for poor journalism. It's not like he lied about a story, you know what I mean? It's not like he made up his career. He didn't pull off an R Day, right? This wasn't the R Day Awards. This was an award show for black journalists, right? Stephen A. Smith is in sports journalism. That's what he does as a profession. And basically, he is literally the top of his field. Not the top black guy in his field. He's the top of the field. There is nobody else in sports media bigger than Stephen A, as far as I know. I don't think anybody's got the contract competing with Stephen A right now. And he's the black man, if you haven't noticed. I don't know if I told you. I don't know if you guys heard, but Stephen A. Smith is a black man from Queens, I think. Queens, New York. And they couldn't criticize him for being a bad journalist. But what they did on stage in front of the whole world is point their fingers at him and say he's being a bad black. That's really what they did. They dragged him up. Well, they didn't drag him personally, but they dragged him out in effigy, effectively. And on stage in front of the world, like this is a very, very intensely public thing to do. Remember, people used to talk about like not airing your dirty laundry out in public, things like that. Of all the things that you devoted this short amount of time, because you know you're having an award show, you got a tight schedule, you got to keep things moving. Everybody's got somewhere else to be. And you devoted time. You made sure everybody knew exactly how you felt about this man. This man is a father. This man has daughter. He has a daughter, at least one. God knows how many black women he has helped professionally. He's, promoted publicly and privately. It ain't like he ever killed a man. Damn sure ain't never killed none of you niggas. But somehow they decide that we got to drag him in front of the world. And not because of any great, like commonly understood moral failing. You know what I mean? It's not like he beat up a baby. It's not like he was throwing puppies out of the window driving down the highway. He wasn't doing anything crazy like that. You know what he did? He criticized black women publicly. Talking bad about the black women, y'all. That is what gets you kicked out the community. That and marrying white women.
Stephen A. Smith, sports analyst and political commentator. Smith has established a recurring public pattern of disparaging commentary directed at prominent black women across politics, sports, and media. Such commentary reinforces harmful narratives, undermines the fair and respectful representation of black women in public discourse, and stands in direct conflict with NABJ's long-standing commitment to accurate, responsible, and inclusive portrayals of black communities.
They don't really care about accurate portrayals of black communities. They're not using the word community in its pure objective form. They're using that as a cover because what they really mean is black women. What Stephen A. Smith did was, in their eyes anyway, attack the well-crafted, highly protected, aggressively, viciously guarded image of black women. The public representation of black women. And Stephen A. Smith, in their eyes, is attacking that. He is like a huge thorn in their side. And he has earned some attention. You know what I mean? It's not like he agrees with all the black women out there. He has had his moments with black women, and black women have had their moments with him too.
We close every show with the Sit Your Ass Down Award.
Okay.
So who or what needs to take several seats right now?
I'm gonna have to do, just because it's a Sit Your Ass Down Award, that sounds like sass to me. I know I left the Y out. it seems like Stephen A. Smith. It just seems like it lines up. Just seems like it lines up, right? It seems like, and honestly, you know, there's the parts about me, but you know, he's constantly attacking Black women. Like, I'm trying to figure out what Black woman hurt you, honey. Somebody hurt you bad. And then, but even beyond that, because we can deal with our things. It was him and this Minnesota thing. And so he literally was like, I'm gonna tell y'all the law. You got a law degree now?
When did you get a law degree?
I'm just trying to figure this out. Like, the constant caping for the con in chief doing a straight disservice to everyone that listens to him. So it will go to Stephen A. Smith.
Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah.
Brother, I'm sorry, but you are this week's recipient of the Sit Your Ass Down Award.
Sit down.
And you know, guys on the internet, you know, like myself here, a lot of guys, you know, they get criticized for talking bad about the Black women, and all you do is gender bang and criticize the women and yada, yada, yada. But I think what you have here is a great, almost perfect example of we didn't start this fight. Like, Black men did not really like start the fight in that way. It was more, it's obvious that the women have been engaging in a very aggressive battle for power and dominance, and they're willing to go public with it. And when I watched Stephen A. Smith, well, when I watched that clip at the NABJ Awards show, you know, what really came to mind is the idea of buck breaking. You know how Tariq Nasheed kind of popularized the term buck breaking. You know, he was saying that's what they used to do to these men on the plantation, you know? And whether or not that's true historically is irrelevant, but we're going to use it for the moment because that's what it kind of harkens back to, you know, using Shakespearean language. You know, that shit harkens back to a buck breaking. It's like they dragging him publicly in an effort to keep him as effective domestic product. That's ultimately what they want from him. And not just him, but like symbolically, like they didn't cut Kunta Kinte's foot off because they were mad at him personally. Like, they needed to send a message to all the other niggas, you know what I mean? And that's what they really were trying to do with Stephen A. Smith. They're cutting his foot off because they want to send a message to all the other niggas who had, you know, delusions of grandeur and daydreams of freedom and shit. You are a domestic product, nigga. You are meant to serve. You are meant to work. You are meant to labor, and you are meant to toil. Dreams are for the white man. All that manly, rugged independence, I can think for myself, I can do what I want, I'm the head of the household bullshit, that's for the white man. That's not for you. And that's basically what they were trying to explain to Stephen, and what they tend to tell Black men, generally speaking, when you get a little bit too far ahead of yourself. Whoa now, coon. Talking a little white there. You got dreams that's a little too light-skinned for you, nigga.
The National Association of Black Journalists just handed Stephen A. Smith a thumbs down award for recurring public pattern of disparaging commentary directed at prominent Black women. No clip, no quote, no timestamp, just a moral death sentence with the footnotes missing. This is not about manners. This is about who is allowed to correct whom in Black America. Stephen A. went at Jasmine Crockett, called her rhetoric fit for the streets. Then he walked it back the way powerful men walk things back when the temperature rises. Take a listen.
This educated, brilliant Black woman representing over 750,000 people is engaging in verbiage and rhetoric for the streets. You literally have senators and congressional figures on Capitol Hill on the side of the Republicans telling the networks, please, please, please put her front and center on camera. Why would they do that? Because they know it wins for them.
He has sparred with Joy Reid. He has been messy about Kamala Harris. Athlete police, media police, same collar, different hands, and still the charge lands as pattern, not proof.
You know, he said something a minute ago we got to talk about. Who gets to police whom in Black America? That is a very, very like existential type of problem because it gets to the heart of order. And a system can't function without order. Like disorder is literally the opposite of a system, you know. A system is literally defined as such because there's an order to it. And when you have this type of disorder in Black America where there is a dispute about whom should be the natural police over whom, it's a sign of great disorder, you know? And that's really what's being like laid to bear in front of the whole world. It's like the Black gender war is kind of spilling out onto the world stage now, if it hasn't already. And the idea that Black men are never allowed to take a negative opinion of Black women or whatever it is they've said or done. However, Black women, and also to a degree, their gay Black male allies, they are allowed to just stand like from an unassailable position and just launch all kind of moral attacks and broad criticisms of the opposite gender, or just, you know, straight Black men in general, rather. And Black men are never ever supposed to leave the defensive crouch. When you think about it, that was really, really the big crime that Kevin Samuels committed. You guys remember Kevin, right? Remember how the women were all happy and dancing on his grave after Kevin died? And objectively, he had done nothing to actually earn that level of like hatred and vitriol where like almost every Black woman on the internet had some like horrible take on his death. But if you look at it from a different context, it all becomes a lot easier to understand. He was effectively a heretic. Kevin Samuels was a Black community heretic. And that's what really drove a lot of the people crazy, mostly the women, obviously. It was him he was preaching like a counter gospel, you know? Like imagine like back when Jesus was actually walking the earth, there was like, you know, the Antichrist was out there at the same time. Like, hey, yo, that nigga over there full of shit. You know what I mean? Like that's how Black women looked at him. Like he was literally the Antichrist out there trying to steal members of their flock right from under him. You know, and in a lot of ways, too, if you think about it, just the kind of order of things, the march of technological progress and whatnot, everything opened up with the explosion of internet technology, right? Like the fact that we're all here right now, I'm on a podcast and there's multiple people listening, I'm on multiple platforms and yada, yada, yada. Everything was great before this type of shit started happening. Before there was really like male representation in the online world, before there was an online world for male representation to kind of blossom and flourish, things were very different. You know, shit was all good just a week ago. But now you got greater and lesser heretics popping up all over the place, you know. And again, back to Kevin Samuels, though, that was his great crime. He was like an enemy of the faith. And the problem with being an enemy of the faith is if you actually make sense, you know, if you actually point out that the emperor has no clothes, then you become a very powerful enemy. It's one thing to be like that crazy guy on the corner, you know, the tinfoil hat guy. It's another thing when people can look around them and see that everything you're talking about is actually true and it's happening live in front of you. And that's what Kevin kind of represented in the grand scheme of things. You know, he wasn't like the crazy guy on the corner. He was sort of on the mountaintop. And you had like, you know, the black female Pharisees going crazy, like, oh, this nigga's he's getting too big. Everybody's moving away from the religion. And that's really the heart of the hatred. And now you got another guy coming up. You got Stephen A. Smith here, who honestly, he's only getting a fraction of the hatred, but he's become a heretic in his own right.
That is the tell. When an institution stops arguing facts and starts issuing vibes, it is no longer a press guild. It is a loyalty court. Now, let me paint you a picture of a man who saw the weather changing. Stephen A. builds the culture table under straight shooter media. Ashley Christopher, Tori Copper, Sumatra Abernathy, strong black women, paid seats, relationship talk, culture talk, society talk.
Notice how no matter how many black women you actually like surround yourself by, no matter how many black women that you actually help professionally or personally, whatever, don't matter, you're never protected from charges of being, you know, against black women. There's no criticism that you're allowed to make without, you know, risking upsetting the tribe. You can wrap yourself in weave and it won't protect you. Because that's all I see Stephen A. Smith doing in that picture. He's wrapping himself in like the magical weave talisman, thinking that maybe if I surround myself with enough weave and strong black women, I can somehow be shielded from the onslaught from the black female Pharisees. And there just ain't enough weave to go around, bro. There ain't enough weave in the world to protect you from these bitches, bro.
Kevin Frazier in the mix, robust female perspective, they call it. Stephen A. knew NABJ was coming for him. He knew the enforcement arm does not run on debate. It runs on obedience. So he bought insurance. He put black women on the payroll to sit with him and sand off the edges of his brand.
Jason Whitlock, you filthy for that. He said Stephen A. tried to get Black Queen insurance. Is that going to be a thing in the future? Can you get Black Queen insurance? I need a policy against these bitches going crazy on me. But as we can tell, there is no such thing, right? There is no weave strong enough to protect you. There is no weave with a thickness strong enough to protect you. It's just not going to help you, bro.
Not because the conversation was urgent, because the verdict was predictable. It did not matter. They will accept the panel. They will accept the checks. They will accept the proximity. Then they will still demand silence. That is not partnership. That is a tribute. And do not pretend the only charge is tone with black women. Stephen A. called a second penalty for leaving the plantation script. He started sounding like a man open to Republican air. He toyed with presidential talk. He let a black man with a mega platform act like his ballot and his future were not owned by one party's priesthood.
You know, that's a whole other thing, too. Black women, let me see, how can I say this accurately? I need to be precise in these type of things. Black women own Black politics. And by owning Black politics, they own the political opinions of Black men as well.
But Black power starts with Black women. It just does.
And so when Black men break away from the Black political order, as you know, the last 2 Trump elections proved, a lot of Black men were willing to at least consider Donald Trump, to the point where, you know, it made the media nervous. You know, I can't count how many Black male voter pieces there were in the media, how many little barbershop meetings they had for the elections and whatnot. Because the Black men are never allowed to leave, which is, it poses a type of conundrum for Black men. This is why I kind of resent a certain type of argumentation that you hear a lot of times if you listen to a lot of Black YouTube panels. Have you ever noticed, by the way, how Black YouTube is always stuck on 2 conversations? It's either racism or gender warring. It's always one of the 2. But I realize that these Black panels, they have a problem with Black men and so, you know, that leaving the plantation concept, right? And what you wind up getting is a type of reinforcement of the matriarchy coming from the men. And so what I hate when I hear on these panels, whether it's being proposed by the women or the men, is this call to Black male leadership. And then at the same time, they viciously go after any Black man who was kind of like going off in his own direction, and he's not moving with the crowd. He's not running with the pack. He's doing his own thing. And it's like, oh, so they want you to be a leader, but lead how I tell you to lead. And it starts out very subtle, by the way. It's not like you're meant to notice it, you know, immediately. But often that's like the problem. That's one of the dynamics in Black love, effectively, is like the never-ending power struggle, you know. And then Black men are constantly getting this messaging of, you know, you got to be a leader, you know, you got to be this guy, you got to be him, you know, that whole thing. Yet the women are getting a completely independent opposite message of, you should never have to do this, that, and the third for your man. You know, I don't cook, I don't clean, but, you know, he still got me the ring. Like, the messaging is totally divergent from one another. Yet, as men, you're not supposed to notice that you're effectively being told to lead however the fuck I tell you to lead. Like, the role for Black men in the Black relationship dynamic is more or less shut up and dribble. That's effectively your role as the Black man in the whole scheme of love and leadership and whatnot. Just shut up and dribble.
For NABJ's worldview, that is not independence, that is treason. Criticize a Black congresswoman and flirt with the wrong coalition, and the ceremony writes itself. Look at the shape of the thing. NABJ leadership is stacked with women and the men who have learned the liturgy. Aaron Hayes holds the gavel. The mission statement says, protect Black journalists. The practice says, protect Black women from correction and supervise Black men who forget the rule. The rule is simple. Black women are not peers in the arena of ideas.
The rule is actually even, it's even simpler than that. I'm going to give you the rule. I'm going to give you the rule. And once I tell it to you, you'll never forget it. Most of y'all been here before. You know the rule.
A lot of people seem to not understand me.
Science proves that the black woman is God. We're not just saying that.
And the black and Latino woman, they manifested themselves out of dark matter energy. All right.
I believe the black woman is God.
Black woman, God. I don't believe God, no man. I believe God, a black woman.
The black woman is God.
But my number one subject matter is the black woman is God. That's first and foremost.
Black woman is God.
The black woman is still God.
You're God, black woman.
The black woman is God. She is the creator. She is the sustainer. She is the provider. She is the first teacher of the children. She is everything to the black race.
And I think this has a lot to do with these guys being their mother's son. If I could just sum it up. When you're raised by your mom, you're a different man.
That's the rule. The black woman is God. The black woman is still God. The black woman will always be God.
But I want to address this simping allegation. Do I simp for black women? Yes. I love black women. I don't like y'all niggas. This is an easy decision to make. Sorry.
And if you think about it culturally, what just happened was really powerful on a cultural level. Like, what other group of men has to deal with this type of thing from their women, publicly or privately? It would be bad enough if he'd gotten like a private letter of rebuke. You know what I'm saying? Like, if the black journalist or something, whatever, if the NABJ, if they'd just been like, hey, yo, Steven, you know we don't fuck with you, right? If they'd have just written him a letter, if they'd have just made like a Twitter post, you could have put that shit out on Twitter. You could have put it on Instagram or whatever. But you did it at your official award ceremony. It's like you call people together. Like, listen. I want you to bring your wife, bring your mom, you know, bring your boss, tell your boss he's invited. Like, gather around black people. I want all the professional black people, everybody that went to an HBCU. I want all the graduates from Hillman University. Everybody gather around so we can talk shit about this one nigga because he doesn't love black women enough.
They are shrines. You do not critique a shrine. You bring flowers. You genuflect. You apologize for the thought crime of noticing. Any mild public criticism is betrayal. Betrayal worthy of a ceremonial execution in front of the industry. Prince already named it. Pussy control, not romance, jurisdiction. The right to police the tongue of men who provide, perform, and pay.
Pussy control. That's what's really afflicting Black America. At the heart of the community is just worship of vagina, the perpetual worship of the vagina. I pray to God you niggas be free from your vagina bondage. Back in the day, I feel like that's what Christian missionaries used to do. That's what Christian missionaries probably used to do when they hit Africa. They was like, look at these savages. All they do is fucking worship the pussy. We got to stop this. We got to tell these savages about Jesus. That's probably how it went down. I swear to God, it went down just like that. Y'all was back in the motherland with nothing but loincloths and long titties around you. You didn't know any better. You didn't know any better. And here come white Jesus, like, you are now free from vagina bondage, all right? That's exactly how it went down. That's the story I'm telling my children anyway. Homeschooling.
Men who are told their strength is welcome until it grows a spine. Stephen A. Smith has volume. First Take, money, jobs, the biggest mouth in the sports media. NABJ has leverage, one trophy, one press release, one charge with no exhibits. And the loudest man in the room is reminded he is still on a leash. He says they had their turn and his is coming. Good. But understand what he is walking into. This is not a disagreement about Jasmine Crockett's legislative record. This is a system that cannot afford equality of scrutiny. Because if black women can be wrong in public, the whole priesthood loses its monopoly on shame.
Yeah, Stephen A is not beefing with a couple of black female journalists. That's not really what's happening. That's not the call that's been put out. Stephen A. Smith has beef with the Black Matrix. That's really what's going on right now. There is a Black Matrix, you know. It's a sub-program woven into the overall matrix, but still, there's a matrix just for niggas, because, you know, niggas need their own segregated things. It's better that way. But he's at war with the Black Matrix, and now, if it wasn't bad enough already, they've effectively put out a bat signal to every other Black professional that you have to either fall in line or you're going to have to pick a side and risk being cast out as some type of runaway. And you know, damn it, I really hate to make Stephen A. Smith the Neo of anything, but it's their fault. They made him Neo.
And if a high-profile black man can drift toward Republican politics or presidential ambition without kneeling first, the collar comes loose. Nothing corrupts more than praise, and nothing terrifies a priesthood more than a black man who won't kneel after he was already paid.
Now, if that wasn't bad enough, Jemele Hill and her gay best friend decided they were going to get together and talk shit about your boy too.
You also, I think have you been a part of his wrath, a target of his wrath or criticism?
Yeah, I mean, wrath is probably, I haven't got it as bad as some others, but he's mostly been, I'm gonna be fair to Stephen A. He has mostly been complimentary of me. He took issue with some of the things that I said about him, and I understood that. That was fine. This is part of the dance that we do when we're in media. And so he seemed to be surprised with some of the things that I had to say in response to some of the things that he had to say. But he certainly said some things that I didn't necessarily love about some of my friends, be it Joy-Ann Reid, Carrie Champion, and others. So, and politically, we're very different. Jasmine Crockett. Yeah. I don't know Jasmine, but obviously I admire her for a lot of reasons. But, there's a pattern that's been there.
Well, all of the people you're speaking about, I know. Some of them are friends, some of them are acquaintances, others I just know. But I was surprised at how to me, it was the tone that he took with Jasmine Crockett and with even Joy, and even with me. I'm not a black woman, but it's just the tone, or speaking from
Don, everybody talks to you like you're a bitch, bro. Every interaction you've ever had with a straight black man, you were the bitch in the conversation, Don. That's just the way it is, brother.
With Jasmine Crockett and with even Joy, and even with me. I'm not a black woman, but it's just the tone, or speaking from as if he's an expert from knowledge that he doesn't necessarily have. Right? He didn't come armed with all the knowledge.
And I think that is really the crux of the issue that people have with him, is that they feel as if his tone is very different when it comes to speaking about you or Joy, Carrie, black women in general, or black people. Like, some people put it under the umbrella of—
Yo, the tone police is crazy, by the way. Right off the bat, and the tone policing is such a cop-out. Most people never give a shit about the tone of it. What they care about is the fact that you're breaking you're breaking ranks. You know what I mean? You're a heretic now. You're supposed to bow down. You're supposed to fall in line. You're supposed to keep your mouth shut. Don't say nothing in front of these white folk. That type of shit.
Of Black people. And when you think about the fact that Donald Trump called this man an idiot, I mean, he literally called him stupid. And people did not sense that same level of vitriol toward Donald Trump, who said something about him that none of us have ever said about him. Like, none of us has ever called him stupid. We may have said, oh, he's uninformed about this or, you know, whatever. But Donald Trump literally called him a low IQ individual, which is his go-to insult, especially when it comes to Black people, as you know, because he's called you the same thing. And so I think that's why people really kind of sort of started looking at Stephen A's responses and actions pretty critically and saying, like, okay, you seem to have a lot of fire and a lot of venom and a lot of discussion about the Black folks, but when the white folks do something, you seem to be kind of muted and nuanced and you treat them a little bit differently.
Okay, now I'm wondering if you think that, you know what happened at NABJ. I was there. I wasn't there for this. You were supposed to be there, but you had a scheduling conflict, and you are an active member in NABJ, right? All of us. And then, you know, they honored him, or at least I think they honored him last year, and First Take maybe. And then all of a sudden this year, because of things. Now I'm wondering if you
yeah, what happened in the last year that made y'all just decide to drag him like that publicly in front of the world? Like, on a professional level, it blows me away. Could you imagine a white organization? There is no such thing as a white organization, by the way. That shit's basically illegal. But that's kind of what makes it like really odd. In terms of just pure professionalism, this shit is like crazy out of place. There is no room for this in any other world of professional behavior. But I don't know. I guess niggas do things very differently than the rest of the professional world. You know, there's the rules, and then there's niggas. You know what I mean?
These blacks.
I think he deserved this from NABJ. This was their announcement on Sunday night or Saturday.
Board recognizes conduct that harms Black journalists, weakens newsroom equity or editorial independence, reinforces damaging portrayals of Black people, or compromises the public service mission of journalism. Stephen A. Smith, sports analyst and political commentator. Representation of Black women in public discourse and stands in direct conflict with NABJ's long-standing commitment to accurate, responsible, and inclusive portrayals of Black communities.
That was quite a reaction.
Jamel.
Wow.
Yeah, noticed, you know, a bunch of women in the crowd as usual, which, you know, this was obviously done to like cater to their probably heavy female audience. You know, I would imagine their whole organization tilts toward, you know, female dominance, and they were throwing red meat to the crowd, basically. It almost reminded me of that moment in 1984. Anybody in the audience ever watched the movie 1984 from the George Orwell novel 1984? And there was a moment in there. There was a scene. I think they called it the minute of rage, like 60 seconds of rage or something like that. And the idea is that in their particular totalitarian utopia, because, you know, it's understood that people do need a kind of release valve for their frustrations, you know, it would help to give people a proper target for their rage. So even if they're angry at the state, you know, you can just direct that energy onto, you know, this totem, this item, and be mad at this thing over here, you know. And they came up with like propaganda about their enemies, and, you know, the enemy's monstrous, and they do this and they do that, and they date white women and all these things, you know, all these horrible things. And the audience who's listening to this and watching this on the big screen, they're in their chairs just going, they're livid, they're hissing and booing, and they're just, you know, being obviously like aggressive toward the content. And that it was a particular type of release for them. And even though it was a brief clip, just, you know, listening to the crowd, I was reminded of that moment very briefly, that moment of rage where you need a target to direct your anger at.
Okay. Well,
you have the floor, ma'am.
So I'm going to try to attempt to do something that isn't always appreciated, and that is have a little nuance. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, has Stephen A. been, have the criticisms of Stephen A. been unfair? The answer is no. I think they've been completely fair, and I think a lot of them have been valid in terms of, as I was talking about, that different energy, and I'm trying to understand where that comes from. And I think politically, people definitely have a problem with how he's used his platform and who he has platformed on his platform.
Criticizing Stephen A. Smith in particular because he gets into arguments with Black women because he criticizes Black women is not a legitimate criticism. You can't be public figures and hide behind your Blackness at the same time. That's not how public figuring works, you know? If you're out there, and people get to talk about you because you're out there. It's one thing if he was just doing TikTok reels about random bitches on the bus stop, that would literally be punching down. You know what I mean? But y'all are all on the same level. Equality, remember? But you can't be equal and hide behind your Blackness and your woman card at the same time. It's a Black woman card, and you want to throw it down anytime there's criticism directed. And how does that now become legit criticism? Because he won't accept your Black female defense card. You know what I mean?
And, kind of the circles that he seems to be ingratiating himself with, it leaves a little, leaves one to raise the eyebrows and say, okay, what's really going on here? You're flirting with running for president. We know that you're friends with some interesting people, to say the least. And I don't want to be getting into business of judging people by their friend groups, but I think people can see the dynamic of what's unfolding and saying, like, who is he trying to ingratiate himself to and why? So there's that component of it, which I think those are fair observations. And
I do judge people by their film group.
Okay. All right. I mean, I understand,
yeah.
It
says a lot about who you are.
Serial killer, y'all be looking at me crazy too. I got it.
Exactly. and honestly, we got to talk about this dynamic for a minute here too. The big mouth sister girl and her, her effeminate gay best friend sitting up here talking about this nigga that, he doesn't play along with the girls, right? Don Lemon, of course, he knows how to play along with the girls. He knows all the rules in girl world. Stephen A. Smith doesn't want to play by the girls' rules. And so now they're going to get together in their little bitch circle and talk about him and tell all the other girls to be mean to him when they see him out on the playground. Like, in a lot of ways, and I'm not the first person to, make this type of comment. I know I'm not, but Black America really is like perpetual high school. It really is. It's just high school 1 year into the next, forever and ever and ever.
I understand. So yeah. I get that. And I think those are fair criticisms and observations. But here's where it gets to me a little thorny. Yes, it is true that First Take, you mentioned this, they brought the show to NABJ. Part of that is because Stephen A. has exhibited an actual commitment to Black journalism. He's an HBCU graduate. He's taken the show on the road, as in First Take, to many HBCUs. And while he wasn't the first show at ESPN to do that, my show actually was. But when I had his and hers, we went to Howard's Homecoming and did a big show. But that's okay. That's neither here nor there. It's not about me. But he has done that. And knowing a little bit with how he operates his show, there are Black people that work on his show that he has actively, intentionally hired to bring Black folks at the producer level, at other levels in our industry, to bring them into the fold. There are a lot of Black people who can say, Stephen A. helped me with my career. That Stephen A., he elevated me in this way. When he had his show, quite frankly, on ESPN, it is true, he created a segment strictly for Black voices on his show because there wasn't a lot of Black columnists. I was one of the Black columnists that appeared on his show. Me, Rob Parker, Gary Howard. It was very few of us. Stephen A., it is true, gave us a platform to do those things. So while I do understand that how he has done and moved and operated in certain ways has gone against the mission of NABJ, and that thumbs down award, that is what it is supposed to address, I do think the body of work should matter.
This reminds me of like a red pill lesson. Remember the red pill? You guys remember that? The red pill. Those were crazy times. Red pill 1 was crazy, wasn't it? This reminds me of the red pill, though. There was a lesson that roughly states, you are not owed future love for past favors done. Roughly something like that. Meaning nothing that you've done for her before will actually matter tomorrow. Any of you guys ever been in a moment like that with a woman? Nothing that you've ever done matters now. You know what I mean? And actually, I remember this. I remember this when I was a kid, when I was just a wee lad growing up. I had a crush on Janet Jackson, like a lot of boys did. And I think it was Janet. I'm pretty sure this is a Janet Jackson song. You guys remember What Have You Done For Me Lately? Eddie Murphy did a whole bit about that. And Eddie Murphy had like a famous comedy stand-up routine years ago called Raw. And I remember Raw because, you know, we used to have Raw on VHS cassette back in the day. And I watched that shit a million times on the VCR. But in Raw, he had a whole bit about Janet Jackson and what have you done for me lately. And he was basically making, you know, comedically, but he was making that very same red pill point. You know, I bought you this, that, and the third. What have you done for me lately? I took you to this place. I took you to that place. What have you done for me lately? You know, I fixed your house. I built you all of these nice things you wanted. Got you a jacuzzi. What have you done for me lately? Like, that's really the game that you kind of run into from time to time. And Jemele Hill just ran that same game on Stephen A. Smith right here. The body of work doesn't matter. What have you done for Black women lately, Stephen?
A segment strictly for Black voices on his show because there wasn't a lot of Black columnists. I was one of the Black columnists that appeared on the show. Me, Rob Parker, Gary Howard. It was very few of us. Stephen A., it is true, gave us a platform to do those things. So while I do understand that how he has done and moved and operated in certain ways has gone against the mission of NABJ, and that thumbs down award, that is what it is supposed to address. I do think the body of work should matter. And Stephen A. does not have a lengthy track record, I think, of going against the core and the root of what Black journalism is. And while I don't like a lot of the things that he has said, I'm also...
What the hell is Black journalism? Like, really, objectively speaking, if I just put the phrase, let's do like a Rorschach test, y'all. Help me out. Type your response in the chat. When I say Black journalism, what's the first thought that pops in your mind when you hear the phrase Black journalism? Like, what does that actually mean? Like, we put those two words together. What is the logical product of that union? Black journalism. Like, do they all write in Ebonics? What is Black journalism? And it also begs the question, obviously, how, in which ways specifically does it differ from white journalism? Is the white man's news newsier? Like, I don't know what you mean when you say Black journalism. And although I understand the kind of ethnic grouping of a people, this obsession for making a Black version of everything, it starts to pervert the purity of the concept. You know what I mean? When you have to put an adjective, when you have to put a qualifier before a thing, it is no longer that thing. It is another thing. Somebody says Black journalism is body cam videos. Oh, fuck me. But what is black journalism, though? World Star Hip Hop. Oh my God. Racism. What is black journalism? I mean, honestly, black journalism is like, what? I would argue 85% racism. You know what? I would take it down to 80% racism because niggas do love their music. Black journalism is like 80% racism, 12% music, and the rest is like black love and varying other topics. That's really what black journalism, you know, if I really had to come up with my own definition, it would be basically something like that. It's mostly racism, slave shit. I'm gonna tell a story about shooting dice on a slave ship, you know. This is black journalism, really.
A lengthy track record, I think, of going against the core and the root of what black journalism is. And while I don't like a lot of the things that he has said, I also cannot absolve or cannot erase the contributions he's made, both as a black journalist himself and also as somebody who has tried in many instances to use his position to help other black journalists.
Okay. Completely fair. And nuance, which people don't like in this day and age. It's not like the black journalists were calling him, you know, the sellout or, you know, the Uncle Tom or the coon, right? No, they weren't doing that.
Do. I mean, some people do. Like that's
some people do. But I'm saying NABJ was not doing that.
NABJ
Basically,
did
they
not
were
do
saying
that.
what he's doing on the air is not good or detrimental to black people and black.
True Hype says, you build 100 bridges, huh? Let this be a lesson for you, man. You build bridges for niggas, they just run down on you. Right? I know it was bars. I know that shit was fire. Flex gonna drop a bomb on that later on the rerun. But not real shit. If you build bridges for niggas, all they wind up doing is running down on you. After a while, you get tired of building bridges for niggas, you know? You want to get to me, you're going to have to build your own bridge. You're going to have to carve your own path if you want to get to where I'm at. Tired of building bridges for savages to run through the jungle and attack me on the bridge I built for you. Shit don't make no sense, y'all. Shit just don't make no sense. How you building bridges for niggas just so they can run down on you? I saw I think Sub-Zero went live earlier today. And I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I saw the title. And the title was long, was like, all right, I'm just going to give you a customary like on the video. But black people do make it hard for you to help them as a general thing. It's really hard to love black people sometimes. It really is, because you go out of your way thinking you're doing good. You know, Boyce Watkins, I just realized Boyce Watkins is a great example of that, even more than Stephen A. Smith. I think Boyce Watkins' track record with black female promotion is like 0 for 3. I'm not even counting his wife. That's you know, that's a love thing. That's not professional. So I know how y'all niggas gonna talk about Boyce's marriage situation, because remember that whole thing. But Boyce Watkins had like at least 3 black women that he like promoted personally. I think it was Michi X. I think it was Vicky Dillard, and there was somebody else I can't think of right now. I want to say maybe Yvette Carnell, but Boyce Watkins has a history. He has a negative track record. That nigga is batting 0 for 3 with promoting black women, only for them to turn around and stab you in the back and talk shit about you and act like you wasn't the man that put them on. It's crazy work. It's crazy work.
Journalists. That's their opinion. They can do it. They're an organization. They are black journalists. Okay. A black journalist organization. However, he thinks what he's doing for the black community is, you're more in line. You're saying basically what he has said before about the black community, but I think sometimes people can be too close to it and they can't see the forest for the trees. I have been there. I'm sure you have been there. And sometimes it takes a person who is your friend, or maybe not so much your friend, to say, hey, look, what are you doing? Can you see yourself? I've had those moments with Spike. I've had those moments with Spike will say, hey man, look, let me see. I've had those moments with DL. DL and I are dear friends now. We toured together, right? We didn't always see eye to eye, but sometimes you got to let your ego go and go, okay, what am I not seeing? And perhaps I am too close to the corporation, if you know what I'm saying.
I do.
You know what I mean? Because if you're a journalist,
don't y'all talk this too close to the corporation shit. Both of y'all was happy house niggas till you got fired. Both of y'all was happy house niggas. Jamel got so happy as a house nigga, her hair turned blonde, y'all. That's really what happened. She got so happy as a house nigga, blonde hair just started to sprout from her scalp. It was a Christmas miracle, this happy house bitch. Now all of a sudden you acting like you don't love the house. No, them niggas kicked you out the house. That's what happened. Y'all both got fired from your big corporate jobs, respectively. Now you out here hustling on the internet like the rest of these niggas, talking about we's free and we's proud. The fuck out my face.
Friends now. We toured together, right? We didn't always see eye to eye, but sometimes you got to let your ego go and go, okay, what am I not seeing? And perhaps I am too close to the corporation, if you know what I'm saying.
I do.
You know what I mean? Because if you're a journalist, pretty much you should not be so aligned to the corporation. That is not your job. Your job is to disseminate factual information. Your job is to be a good communicator. Your job is to inform and enlighten. And in many ways, if you're a Black journalist, your job is to offer opportunities to other Black journalists if you're in a position like Stephen A. Smith, and also to be able to bring those conversations to the fore, to be able to bring the nuance to the fore without sounding like you are, hey man, you know what I'm saying? It's like, that's my thing.
Right.
That I just like, because all in the way that you say it. But and so let me say this. I want to play this because he says, oh, Black people love me, blah, blah, blah. But if you heard some of the responses from there, it's like, maybe he doesn't see it. Roll it.
Black people don't like me. I'm from Hollis, Queens, bro. I'm from the streets of New York City. I go to the streets of America everywhere, all over this country. I'm inside and outside arenas. I'm inside and outside local businesses and stuff like that. I'm the ambassador for HBCU Week in concert with Ashley Christopher and other people. I've helped generate over 12,000 scholarships in excess of $150 million for Black students. I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. I ain't just down with a fraternity. That's a brotherhood. All of them are my boys. I was raised by 5 Black women, Joy. I have 9 nieces. I have 2 daughters.
How many mothers you got, Stephen? And you know, Stephen kind of has that like you know, a feeling of betrayal about him. You hear what he said? I was raised by 5 Black women. 5.
And I think this has a lot to do with these guys being their mother's son. If I could just sum it up, when you're raised by your mom, you're a different man.
Imagine being raised by 5 of them. I'd probably be on death row right now if I was raised by 5 Black women. Be doing life in jail. I'd be king of the penitentiary. But Stephen, you know, he has this air of betrayal to him, because I think he actually was, you know, he was a deacon in the Church of Black Women for a while now. And I guess that, you know, at some point he just realized he just couldn't really be himself and be a deacon in good standing in the Church of Black Women. And so he left. And really what I guess I'm kind of alluding to is the nature of Black America in general too, right? Years ago, especially during like the Trump campaigns, there was a lot of talk about like the Black manosphere and how, you know, the manosphere in general is this online right-wing space. And that's generally true of the manosphere, but not really of the Black manosphere. And I noticed this like firsthand. And no matter how much black men may take issue with the current trends of the Democrat Party, the black manosphere remains a firmly left-wing, liberal, progressive online space. It just does. There's really almost nothing conservative about black men online as a group, right? You're going to get your individuals, but as a group, the nature of the community online and in the, you know, in real life, IRL, is a very modern, progressive, liberal thing. And Stephen A. Smith publicly broke with that. And everybody who does, every black person who breaks with that, you find yourself on the outside.
Everybody black. I still go home to Hollis. On the business side, ESPN takes our show, First Take, to HBCUs, packed gymnasiums wherever we go. Black people don't like me.
Okay, look, I like French fries, I like bread, and I'm not going to go through life pretending I'm never going to eat a burger and fries, all right? But I can live without the moment 30 minutes after a great meal when your stomach says, you really thought all of that was a good idea? That's why I was interested in Physician's Choice Digestive Enzymes. One capsule has 16 different digestive enzymes to help break down proteins, carbs, fats, dairy, vegetables, legumes, even sugar. It also has soil-based probiotics and prebiotics for gut support, plus organic peppermint leaf and ginger root. The formula was developed with their scientific advisory board and is third-party tested. You take one capsule with your meal, and it's less than 25 cents a capsule. So no, I'm not giving up fries. Go to physicianschoice.com and use the code DonLemon for 25% off digestive enzymes. That's physicianschoice.com and use the code DonLemon. Eat the meal, skip the bloat.
So you get it. Now, all of those things may be true, and he deserves his flowers for that. But it's not necessarily an excuse for having bad takes on people and for what journalists are trying to get him to understand. Maybe he's not seeing something, and he thinks by doing all of those things that he can also pile on black people and talk shit about them, and there will be no accountability for it.
Yeah, and Don, I think what you brought up is fair, and not just fair, but justified. And I know personally of black journalists, senior black journalists, who have tried to have these conversations with Stephen A. behind closed doors, and because they told me about it. And I think this is what I want Stephen A. to do from what happened at NABJ. I want him to self-reflect and evaluate, but I know that's not what he's going to do. And this is where I am concerned for NABJ. Stephen A. has a very big platform. He has a very big microphone. And what he's going to do, and he's already alluded to this with his tweet saying Christmas came early. It's like he's reveling. He's going to revel in trying to tear down this organization. That's exactly what he's going to do, is that he is going to air NABJ fully out and realize that there's a good bit of the country that does not understand the value, the meaning, and the institution that is NABJ. It is the largest black journalist organization in the country.
Fuck them. If this is what black men can expect from the largest black journalist organization in the country, well then fuck them. Because the idea that you will get out from your professional platform, you know, this isn't just Keisha and Tasha sitting on a stoop talking about Jamal and who he fucking today and all of that. This isn't that.
I'm done. I'm done with life, and it's all Jermaine's fault. It's always Jermaine's fault.
This is a very, very high level. This is a gender war at the elite levels of Black America. All the black men who've told tales about how, you know, in corporate America, black women are not an ally. Just because you hire a black woman doesn't mean anything good for black men who need a job. All the men who've been pointing out how the allyship is only and always one-sided, they've all been vindicated on a public level, because right now what you have is this big public corporate institution that decided that their interest is no longer journalism in the objective sense. Their interest is the image of black women. And because their interest is the image of black women, we will now openly declare war on this wayward nigger because he did not bend and grovel in front of the queens, in front of everybody. All you had to do was bend over and apologize. That's all you had to do. Nigga was too good to bend over and apologize. What do you even do with niggas that's too good to bend over and apologize?
Toby be good nigga for massa. Good nigga. Don't send Toby away.
For 3,000 members. I've been a member of it since I was 16 years old. This organization has meant everything to me. It totally is responsible for me having the career that I had, going to NABJ, seeing other Black journalists, seeing journalists like Stephen A. Smith in their positions come back to NABJ and come back to the convention, talk to younger journalists, give us some game, going to developmental workshops, being able to go to the job fair. This is an amazing organization. And at a time where Black journalism is under attack, I think the way that he responds to this is not going to be helpful, and it's not going to be constructive, and it's not going to get him to the place that you want him to get to, Don, and that is to respond.
Who gives a shit what Don Lemon wants from a nigga? Who the hell makes any decision based on what would Don Lemon do? I don't even think Don Lemon takes Don Lemon's advice. What do you mean? I want him to get to the place you want him to be, Don. What the hell is that about?
I think the way that he responds to this is not going to be helpful, and it's not going to be constructive, and it's not going to get him to the place that you want him to get to, Don. And that is.
And think about this for a minute. They went on the attack against him. This institution decided that we were going to call this Black man out in public. We're going to chop his foot off in front of everybody. And what does she do? She makes him somehow the victim and the aggressor in the same time. Like, oh, I just know he's going to make it worse. I know whatever he does isn't going to help. And, and it's just like chicks, bro. I swear to God, this is just like a woman to slap you in the face and then be mad that you want to hit her back. You're not supposed to hit girls. That's a female. Like the NABJ is effectively one big Black bitch right now. It is one giant collective national bitch, and you're not supposed to hit her back. That's basically what she's doing. Stephen A. Smith just got hit by the biggest big back bitch in the whole country, and he's not allowed to hit back. If he hits back, it's his fault. If you knock this big bitch the fuck out, somehow you're the bad guy. And that's literally how it works in Black America. That is literally how it works. I can't tell you how many videos I've seen of some random crazy bitch, always a fat chick too, acting crazy, talking reckless, putting their hands on somebody. And then as soon as that man defend himself, here come all the superhero niggas. All the niggas that don't love their own life, but they'll die for a random bitch. They want to jump out in the mix. That's the female. That's a female. Like, this is why niggas be getting killed, bro. This is literally why niggas die so much in the hood. All this feminine energy running amok.
Is to respond in a way, or at least think about, why is there a disconnect? Like, of course, when you go to HBCU campuses, they love you because they're students and they see this Black man who is the face of ESPN, who has got $100 million contract and is television. Yes, they love you. But if your peers are telling you there is something wrong, or there's something you should be paying attention to, maybe you should listen to them and have some conversations, not only with yourself, but with these same people, and say, like, okay, guys, what is it? Where am I getting this wrong? Or what's the disconnect? And
you see Jamel Hill over here. So me and my gay friend, we figured out what your problem is, Don. That's all I keep seeing, Me and my gay bestie over here, we figured out what the fuck is wrong with you, Steven. Why don't you just take these pills that me and my gay bestie want to give you? These will fix you. Like, this is all I'm hearing. And this is something else I've noticed. This is like typical of feminism. And I think this is one of those things that, like, symbolically will forever be a wedge between, like, men and women in terms of, like, men being anti-feminist. Because there's this real, like, just obvious pact with the devil that a lot of women have made, where they really actively seek to leverage their male best friend against straight men. For because it's not chaos, there's an order to it. It's not just random. For the purpose of sowing chaos and disorder and disharmony amongst the men. That's really what I see at play here. It's almost like a strategic move to weaken a concerted base of power. You know, it's the type of thing where you can't always fight them from the outside. So you got to find a way to, slip an enemy behind the lines. And then you can fight them from inside, And that's basically what I see with this this alliance between like feminist women and gay men. It's like they're teaming up to socially police straight men. That's really what I see going on here. You can tell me if I'm crazy or not. Sometimes I be seeing shit. I won't deny that I might be, it might be me. I might be bugging. But that's really how I look at it. That's really what I see most of the time is like just this a type of alliance for no other purpose than to actually prevent what they talk about the most, which is like black men being leaders and competent and dominant and all that shit. But in reality, they're working in the backgrounds to make sure that that can never actually happen. In your face, they will criticize you and accuse you for your lack of leadership, your lack of achievement, your lack of social positioning, all these things that you may be lacking as, black men, quote unquote. But behind the scenes, they're always making sure that that shit never fucking happens. And the few niggas that do escape, you always got to pay your taxes. Stephen A. Smith stopped paying his taxes. Shout out to True Hype with the $10 coffee donation. Do me a favor, guys. If you like what we do over here, please support the show. You can hit me up on Venmo at The Hoodservative, or there's a lot more convenient. You can click the link in the chat. Go over to buymeacoffee.com. You can be like True Hype and send a $10 coffee donation, and you can leave a long comment. True Hype says, notice how Stephen A. Smith is talked about in this odd, passive-aggressive, very ambiguous way with no concrete language or examples of what he did that was wrong. Just the way they feel, I feel type bull, and it's crazy. That's really what it is. This is what I said about the whole journalism thing. Like, they're not this is a journalistic institution, right? They're not criticizing him for bad journalism. They're not criticizing him because he lied on a black woman. I could understand it if Stephen A. Smith put out a horrible, vicious lie about a black woman and then it all blew up in his face like, damn, hey, you got caught out there, right? But that would be bad journalism, you know what I mean? They can't do anything like that. He's the top of his field. And again, he's not the top of the black field. He is bigger than the NABJ, by the way. That's a whole other thing. That's why Jamel Hill is feeling some type of way. He is bigger than the NABJ. He is one of the biggest black journalists out there, period. It's literally Oprah than him. And there's a huge gap between him and Oprah, but I'm just saying it's him and then there's Oprah.
And I don't know that if he's introspective enough to frankly do that. And I think this is going to go in the wrong direction. And what it's going to result in is, one, Stephen A. Smith is probably never coming back to NABJ. He's probably going to cancel his membership. And what I do also worry about, Don, is what he might say to the higher ups in terms of, because realize, as you know, ESPN sponsors the mentorship breakfast at NABJ. Okay. And I'm not saying that Stephen A.
Yeah. You niggas wanted war? Okay. I mean, Stephen A. Smith is ESPN's golden Negro. All right. They're going to keep Stephen A. happy. All the money that they invested in Stephen A. Smith, and you want to pick a fight with this nigga openly, publicly, in front of everybody, in front of all these good white folk. That's what y'all, in front of all these good white folk, you really want to fight with this nigga? And you know good white folk love some Stephen A. Smith. Good white folk love them some Stephen A. Smith. They don't really care for open, big mouth black bitches, right? One thing good white folk is getting sick of is big mouth black bitches. And you want to pick a fight with Stephen A. Smith, okay?
Is going to say, hey, dissolve that. What I am going to say is that ESPN as a company, I'm worrying about how this will influence their relationship with NABJ, because they have, in their minds, they're going to look at it as you came after one of our most prominent journalists and prominent, media personalities. Where does that leave us?
Yeah, I think though a thumbs down on whatever, it's not that bad. I just didn't look. This is before I say this, I'm going to hold that thought. I understand what you're saying, especially about him going after NABJ, right? Because NABJ is not a perfect organization. I mean, I'm sure you've had issues with it. Sometimes I've had issues with it. There was one time when I'm like, I don't want to have anything to do with NABJ, because there was someone who was at the top who thought that he was the head Negro in charge and he was the only person that could speak, journalist that could speak for black people, and completely poisoned my relationship with NABJ, right? And so I was like, I don't want to have anything to do with it. I'm not going to name names. But that sense has corrected, and and so I moved on, and now I'm back, right? And I'm doing panels, and I'm doing whatever I can do to help NABJ. I'm very, very supportive of them. The other thing is you said what I said and what you said, I believe, are perfectly legitimate. I think that if NABJ wants to do that, that's legit. You could have a conversation. Everybody let their egos go aside, and it would be great if you could see them working together and trying to do something. I don't know if that's going to happen. So I said, do you think he deserved what happened to him at NABJ? Okay, but more than anything, do you think that he deserved this animated feature, which he is figured prominently in? Watch.
Oh, are they doing more? There's more?
Quietly now. Beyond these hedges, one of the preserve's loudest tokens is already hunting. Notice how it stalks black athletes, black coaches, and especially black women, without wandering far from a television camera. Extraordinary. Welcome to the Sellout Preserve. Here, tokens exchange community membership for warm buttered biscuits, lightly brushed with corporate approval.
This looks like something Tariq Nasheed made.
Okay, and so you can imagine where this goes. Have you seen this?
I have. A number of people sent me that animated feature.
I don't like the name calling, but I mean,
I don't really care about that part. I'm gonna jump. It was a bit funny. I won't deny it was a little bit funny. But I want to jump now to Stephen A. Smith. Let's take a listen to his response, y'all.
I've been out of the mix the last few days because I'm busy about to send my daughter to college. And while I was hanging out with her for dinner on Saturday night, I saw that the National Association for Black Journalists gave me a thumbs down award. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are expecting me to go nuclear. And the reality of the situation is I just might. But at this particular moment, that's not my inclination. I want to tell you, first off, before I say anything, I heard them loud and clear. I'm listening. I'm far from perfect. And I will always strive to do better on behalf of my community, for the journalism community, and beyond. In the days and the weeks and the years to come.
This whole, I'm always going to be like a workhorse for my community. It feels like a lot of pressure on one man's back, No one man should feel like they got to carry the community on their back. This shit is enough already. I say you let these niggas drown, man.
But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to address what was said about me with the fervor that it deserves. Because even though I heard you, even though I am listening, even though I will always strive to do better, that doesn't negate the bullshit that the NABJ did Saturday night or Friday night, whichever night it was. I believe it was Saturday night. It is BS. And I get a lot of people want to pile on and they want to jump on it because you have your own individual feelings about me. I'm here to tell y'all are entitled to that. Not the NABJ. You're not entitled to that. This is me we're talking about here. I am the same guy that brought a nationally televised show to a journalism conference, which is the NABJ, the last 2 years. Did you have anything to say about me then? Did I get a thumbs down then? First Take, a nationally televised show, which has been #1 for 14 straight years.
Should I put you niggas in front of everybody? Wasn't nobody reading your black journalism bullshit? I made you niggas famous. I put you up on a world stage. And this is the thanks I get.
We came to the National Association for Black Journalists in Chicago and Cleveland, back-to-back years. Of course, I got to thank ESPN for that. They're the ones that signed off on that, specifically now former executive Dave Roberts. It doesn't happen without him. It doesn't happen without ESPN. But you know who else it doesn't happen without? Me. Because if I'm not willing to show up, we ain't coming. But I was there.
And you got to take this as a message, though. This is the thanks you get for being a man for his people. You know, for black people anyway. I don't know how other communities reward you for your tireless efforts and shit. I think other communities, they build statues for their men. Other communities, they name buildings after their guys. They put their names on bridges and shit like that. Not in Black America. You know who got a statue? George fucking Floyd. All right, that's who gets statues in Black America. George Floyd. And you know it's funny? Because I was actually in Newark and I saw this shit. I was driving, I was downtown Newark, and I was driving. I guess it was like a courthouse or whatever. But the George Floyd statue is right in downtown Newark. And it's literally a statue of a dope fiend and a wife beater sitting on a bench. That's what you get in this community. If you're George Floyd, though. If you're George Floyd, you can get a statue. Motherfuckers will come up and take pictures of you and all that. But if you're a good black man who's made money and gave back to the community, no. We don't believe in that type of shit. You just need to shut up and give me your money.
I was there not just to do the show. I also stood in the booth for over an hour doing the jobs fair. I also gave a speech. I also mentored and talked to, as I continue to do, young, aspiring black journalists, and I have done that religiously for decades.
But what have you done for these bitches lately, Stephen? I know you did all that stuff. That was 2-3 days ago, but what have you done for me lately? Ooh, yeah.
I started my career at the Philadelphia Inquirer. I know it's the New York Daily News as a high school reporter, but thereafter, in 1994, I began my career at the Philadelphia Inquirer, courtesy of Sandra Long, a longtime executive for the Philadelphia Inquirer, synonymous with the NABJ, whom I first met at the jobs fair of the NABJ. My career started because I was at the NABJ job fair. And yet, Saturday night, I saw the president of the organization, Erin Haynes, go up on stage.
I'm going to refrain from commenting on her looks.
And give me a thumbs down award.
She doesn't look happy, though. I'll say that much at least. She does not look like a happy person.
For disparaging Black women. I received a lot of insults in my day.
You better not cry, nigga. I swear to God, you better not cry.
That might be the lowest. I'll address that in a second, but I want you all to understand the magnitude of what a few board members for the NABJ elected to try and do to me.
You know, I keep thinking too, like, this is just another one of those signs that the Black community in general doesn't know what to do with its men. This is why you have that ever constant phenomenon of the most successful Black men leave the community and almost completely break ties with it in a lot of cases as well. Got a lot of these renegades in the chat right now. You know, a lot of the more successful Black men will just openly just cut ties with the community. And, or even I noticed this is another thing as well. Like I saw a clip going around recently where a lot of NBA dads were complaining about how the NBA kind of like try to like squeeze them out of their, son's sort of like career, but always were doing promos about the mom, and the mom made them and all this shit. And there's just this kind of phenomenon where, the men can find a home, a productive place to be anywhere outside of Black America, though. That's kind of the thing, there's apparently no real good, comfortable home. There really isn't a lot of outside of that short-lived glory of being a so-called Pookie. When you're the young King Pookie, it might feel good for a little bit, but beyond that, there really isn't a generally like desirable, respectable social position for productive Black men within the confines of the community. I remember 50 Cent had a song back in the day where he said, it ain't good to do good in front of niggas in the hood. And truer words were never spoken. It ain't good to do good. It ain't good to be good in front of niggas in the hood. That's really what it is. It just ain't good. And then what Stephen A. Smith is kind of revealing with this whole fiasco is that this is not a phenomenon restricted to the ghetto. This is not a phenomenon restricted to the lower economic rungs where as a successful Black man, the higher you climb, you find that, the community that exists up there operates on the exact same framework as the community that exists down there too. That's really what you find out. And that's what Stephen A. Smith is running into. This is the same type of social policing that goes on in the ghetto. That's the female. No matter how awful, no matter how much crazy shit that she did to you, you're going to be wrong if you clap back because that's a female. And shout out to D-Rock Den in the house, my man, long time listener too. D-Rock, we go back to the Riley days, man. Shout out to D-Rock Den with the $10 coffee donation. He says, I'm glad to see you still doing content, sir. I got a real job, D-Rock. I'm just doing this for the love of the game. I appreciate your support, though. Thank you for the $10 donation. Hit me up on buymeacoffee.com, y'all. If you like the show, like, share, and subscribe. And be like D-Rock Dan. Be like True Hype. Click that link, y'all. Go to buymeacoffee.com. Drop a donation. Let's go.
Hulk! Smash! Smash you! You make Hulk angry. You not like Hulk angry. Hulk no like fighting girls.
Ladies and gentlemen, did you know that in the history of the NABJ, according to my research, only 4 individuals have ever received the Thumbs Down Award? Usually, it's reserved for organizations.
Notice they're all black men. Oh, I'm sorry. There's one. There's one acting president of Hampton University. I bet she was cooning too. There's one female, though. It's mostly black men, though. All right, all right. Pattern recognition activated.
But myself, along with founder, owner, and president and CEO of Circle City Broadcasting, Mr. DeJuan McCoy, received it this past weekend, but also Jason Blair, the disgraced New York Times reporter. That is the category that I have now been lumped into.
Let me run that back 1 second.
That is the category that I have now, the disgraced New York Times reporter. Only 4 individuals have ever received the Thumbs Down Award.
Oh, they said she censored the campus, the student-run campus newspaper. So we got plagiarism, censorship, and concerns surrounding workplace equity, newsroom culture, and professional accountability. Oh, I know what DeJuan did. I can tell right away what DeJuan did. You gotta be like versed in corporate speak a little bit, because I'm a little bit versed in corporate speak. You know what I mean? I've been around. I've learned a few things in my travels, and when they say they have concerns surrounding workplace equity, newsroom culture, professional accountability, that is very clinical, clean corporate speak. Or he made the hoes mad. That nigga was scaring the hoes at work, y'all.
Hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad.
This is about targeting women of color in the United States of America. Don't tell me, because I didn't get a single apology.
Time has expired.
My life was threatened. Thank you.
Hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad.
This is why I love driving trucks, by the way, because there's just not a lot of hoes to make mad in this particular line of work, all right? There's a couple, but as a general rule, there's just not many hoes to make mad driving trucks. But journalism, nothing but bitter bitches.
Usually, it's reserved for organizations. But myself, along with founder, owner, and president and CEO of Circle City Broadcasting, Mr. DeJuan McCoy, received it this past weekend, but also Jason Blair, the disgraced New York Times reporter. That is the category that I have now been lumped into. I've been in this business for 33 years. I'm one of 21 African Americans in this country's history to have ever been named a general sports columnist. I have climbed the charts from an intern to a high school reporter, all the way to a columnist. I've hosted national radio shows, as I do right now on Sirius XM. I'm the executive producer and the star of the #1 sports morning show for the last 14 years.
You know, Jamel Hill in that previous clip, she's toward the end, she seemed to be worried about what Stephen A. Smith might do as some form of retaliation. Because mark my words, this is unprecedented. In terms of just professionalism and just general corporate culture, this type of public call out and rebuking for something as personal as racial loyalty. Like they took race loyalty and tried to make it corporate. You know, they're taking this thing that should be an objective thing. It should be about the craft of journalism. Who gives a shit if you're all black? It's about the craft of journalism, but you turned his sin into something racial. He wasn't race loyal enough. And you drag that out in front of everybody. And so not only do y'all look crazy, we all look crazy by extension. You know, no matter how much I say I am not with these niggas, we all look crazy by extension. Because somehow you wanted to like racially shame the man in front of the world. And I ask again, what other group of men have to deal with this type of shit? You know, when you think about it too, like a community that doesn't respect its hardworking, successful men doesn't actually deserve them either. You don't really get to have it both ways.
And I'm 5 weeks away from being inducted into the Broadcast and Cable Hall of Fame. Howard Cosell, Dan Rather, Edward R. Murrow, Mike Wallace, Oprah Winfrey.
You know, honestly, when I think about it, there's a lot of talk online right now about liberal white women basically being like the enemies of Western civilization and white men and all that. You know, you're voting to let the barbarians in the gate and all that type of shit. In that same vein, I would argue that there is kind of a race between Black women and white women. There's a competition to see who hates their men the most. And like I said, as much as, you know, we got white women, you know, being basically accused of the fall of Western civilization, I think Black women are still in the running. If you really had to compare of all the women in the world, I think Black women and white women are almost neck and neck for who hates their men the most. I'm not ready to call a race yet, but I do know this is a heated battle.
Those are just a few of the names inducted into the Broadcast and Cable Hall of Fame. And this coming September 29th, I am being inducted into the Hall of Fame, officially a Hall of Famer. But I'm not a Hall of Famer for the NABJ. So you can celebrate me to get my national television show to come to your conference. You can ask me to mentor and speak to kids for years. I once spoke at the mentor breakfast because Robin Roberts, who's also in the Broadcast Cable Hall of Fame, by the way, was ill and battling cancer at the time, and she could not attend that morning. And they asked me to sub for her. I have all of this, but I'm getting a thumbs down award. Really?
Black America does not know what to do with its men. I think that is a whole subject of conversation unto itself. Black America has all these. This is effectively what the YN problem represents, right? Because, you know, boys become men eventually. And YNs are basically boys that Black America has no idea what to do with, like on the grand collective level, you know?
You know, my family didn't want me to do this. My friends didn't want me to do this. They actually said, let it go. You know what else they said? They said, who the hell is the NABJ? You know what my response was? It's the place to help get me started. It's the preeminent Black journalism organization existing.
Damn, Steven. Hey, you know what? You know, it hurts when you got to kill a nigga you love. It is. There is going to be memes of Stephen A. Smith, but he going to be like Wesley Snipes in New Jack City when he killed Gino or whatever. What G Money? When he killed G Money, that's how you going to have to do the NABJ, bro. You're going to have to G Money them niggas on the rooftop and let that one teardrop come down your cheek. Am I my brother's keeper? Am I my brother's keeper? And that's what the NABJ just declared, though. They on some G Money shit. They just showed you that they are not their brother's keeper. You didn't betray them. You didn't stab them in the back. You didn't get up in front of the world and talk about how fucked up they are. How this whole thing caters to the female ego. You didn't do none of that shit. They got up there in front of everybody and said, this nigga Stephen A. Smith hates bitches. Could you imagine that? Can you imagine you go to work one day and your boss calls everybody in for a meeting, and they're like, hey, I just wanted to tell you about Tom. So Tom hates bitches, y'all. Like, that's basically what y'all did to this man. Y'all called up a meeting of all the prominent Black people in your field, and you got them together under one roof to be like, this nigga hates bitches. And you know Stephen A. Smith loves Black women.
It's the NABJ. And it's important that I recognize that. You've had your troubles in the past, financial issues, dissension amongst the ranks, people battling for their own shine, whole bunch of stuff that has been listed about the NABJ. What I care to recall is the contributions you've attempted to make as an organization to Black upliftment and empowerment in this industry. A facetious question I may throw out, please. What the hell does this thumbs down award have to do with journalism?
Thank you.
That's why I'm addressing it. Tell me what it has to do with journalism. Disparaging Black women? How? I've heard people bringing up Jasmine Crockett. She was a representative in Texas, representing 766,000 people. Did I sit up there demonstratively asking, why would you curse out the president of the United States with the cameras rolling? How is that going to help you? Yes, I did. Why did I do that? Not only because she's in Texas and I know they're a little bit.
He was literally doing journalism and the Black journalists turned on him. That's really what it is. He was doing journalism and they was like, not like that, nigga. You journalism like I told you, boy.
Different in Texas. a bit more conservative. And I didn't think that would work with her constituency down there. We also saw the issue of redistricting coming up to the forefront. And I said, you have an opportunity to be the Democratic nominee for the United States Senate, representing 31 million folks. And you getting that seat. Why? Because your education. Because of the fact that you're licensed to practice law in Texas, in Arkansas, and federally. It would have been a great, great thing. I'm like, yo, weave your way through it. Don't let this guy Tellerico win.
Well, she couldn't weave her way through it. She can't weave her way to anything, apparently.
Was I wrong? But here's the bigger question. Forget that. I apologize for even asking that question. Here's the bigger question. How is that disparaging? How? Oh, Stephen A goes after Michelle Obama. She's the one that compared First Take to a reality show. And I use that as an opportunity to say that this marvelous, wonderful woman, who is the greatest first lady in American history, who I have raised and praised and praised and praised time and time and time again, to the point where I said she should run for the presidency because there's no way she'd lose. All I did was say,
you talk nicer about Michelle Obama than you do your own mama. That's terrible work. You said more nice words about Michelle Obama than you did your own mama. And that didn't save you. That was not enough to save you. You know what? When I was running the show, and it's too late to do it now, I started to at a couple of people in the title of this show. Because, you know, we nothing like, no heavy beef, but, you know, I got some long-standing feuds, some friendly feuding going on. Because, like, when I be going over to, like, Drip Nation, I always get into it with him because it's like, bro, you go out of your way to protect these chicks who be out of pocket, and you get nothing for it. You're like, all the work you putting in, there's no big payoff to that shit. It's just endless work. But niggas don't want to learn anyway. That's the problem. Niggas don't want to learn. You can't save nobody.
I don't like the fact that you said a vote for him, as in Donald Trump, would be a vote against us as women. All I said was there's a whole bunch of pro-lifers out there. There's a whole bunch of people that care about the economy or immigration or safety in the streets. They might not even be thinking about this issue. And I also reminded folks, Black men revere Black women. Which one is it? We're going to sit up there and talk about how we've got women raising us and how much we deify and love and adore these Black women. But then all of a sudden we're going to sit up there and act like we're disparaging them? How? How?
You know what? I think we're going to let Steven end it on that note because I got to get up out of here. It is a work night. But I think I want to just reiterate my my ultimate point I made a minute ago where I said that the Black community just doesn't know what to do with its men, especially the more productive, the men who ultimately become successful. You know, they want the men that are productive and successful to follow some social script, as opposed to getting on board with the things that make these men productive and successful. And so you wind up just having this constant power battle, power struggle, as they call it. And no matter what's been done to you, you're always wrong. You can never fight back. You can never defend yourself. And then at some point, you just say, enough. I don't need this shit. I'm actually bigger than this community. And then, you know, then you're on your way. But I appreciate you guys coming out. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for listening to the show tonight. Do me a favor, throw $1 in the hat on your way out. Make sure you click the link in the chat. Catch me on buymeacoffee.com. Thank y'all so much for coming out tonight. Shout out to Stephen A. Smith, man. It's funny how your Negro wake-up call always comes from your fellow Negro. Isn't that ironic?
Aspiring to be patriarchs like what white men have, that isn't freedom. That isn't going to help anybody. It's certainly not going to help Black people.
What's wrong with you? What's wrong with y'all? You niggas are crazy.
It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done.